Hi there, and welcome to the show. This week, I couldn't just publish one show. It had been weighing on me for many days about the loss of two wonderful people who have made such a lasting impression on my life, and I know has made a lasting impression on so many others' lives. If you listened to yesterday's episode, you'll know that just recently, in January 2024, two such influential figures, Dan Miller and Susan Guile, had passed away. I toiled with really what I wanted to say and how I wanted to honor them. And typically I just kind of internalize this type of stuff because nothing I could say out loud seemed to be good enough. Thank you to another very dear person in my life, Genesis Eakes, because she gave me the perspective I needed to just be me. Just be me and say thank you in my own way. Both Dan and Susan, you can say I admired and appreciated from afar. Their impact on my life was through their books and following them online. I didn't know them and interact with them on a daily basis or often, but I knew them through their books, through other connections, and following them online. I feel privileged to have had Dan and Susan as guests on my podcast and have shared a personal conversation with each of them. Dan, Susan, your absence is deeply felt, and I thank you for enriching my life. And that's why this week I wanted to take a moment to honor both of them and replay their episodes because they're important lessons. Their open and positive attitudes continue to inspire. Today, you're going to hear my conversation with Susan Guile. Now, Susan's episode first aired September 30th, 2021, and I met Susan through knowing her daughter, Linda. Linda and I participated in a mastermind together, and through Linda, I seemed to have gotten to know her mom, Susan. And I was so honored that I was able to meet her face to face, though it was virtual through a Zoom call. But Susan left a lasting impression on me. Now, you'll learn from Susan how to get out of your overthinking mind and wake up the magic within yourself. Let's hop right into that conversation, shall we? Well, welcome, Susan. I have been looking forward to this conversation for weeks now, and I'm so appreciative that you're joining me today.
Thank you.
Before we get too far, I would love for you to tell my listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Gayla. It's fun to be here. So this is such an interesting question because I know you're explaining some of this in the bio, but of course, being a senior, I've done lots of super exciting things. And the place I am now and what is my passion is really waking up people's magic, having them remember who they are, having them get in touch with that magnificence, really their magic, what makes their heart sing. So you ask what I'm up to, a little bit about me. I am widowed. I have two kids. I live outside Boston. I've always worked. And of course, at this point in life, someone would say, are you retired? And of course, I am a bit, but I still love playing with the power of creativity. I love doing all sorts of good stuff.
I have a copy of your Mighty Crayon book, and I love it. Let me tell you, I've had it, and I've gone over it more than once. When you talk about creativity and waking up your magic, what does that mean?
So I love this question because people think of the Mighty Crayon as coloring. People think of creativity as always doodling, which we talked about before the show. But the other day I found this awesome definition of creativity. And I want to share it with you. It's a guy named Edward de Bono. And I love what he says. He says creativity involves breaking out of your extended patterns in order to do things in a different way. Now, think about that. Think about how we do the same old, same old. You hear people say the same old, same old. So I love thinking of creativity beyond just coloring, beyond just painting. And of course, you make quilts, your husband does music. All that is creativity. But it's digging into something so much more expansive, so much more enlightening. And it's so wonderful because it captures you. There is a passion that comes from creativity.
To find time to do creative things, and in our busy, busy world, how can we find time to do such things?
What a great question. First of all, you're a busy business owner. You're doing podcasts. I think you said you travel a bit. So, of course, that takes time. So, it's really just programming that 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's almost like people do meditation. But I love it when people take that creative time and make themselves pick out the doodle pens, as you say, work on your quilt. So, how do you do that? You make that commitment to yourself. You decide that you want to balance your right brain, your left brain. You want to go deeper, but you also want to get in touch with those passions, that fun.
I've heard people say, and I'm sure that you have too, that, hey, I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body. What do you say to folks like that?
Oh my gosh, I love it when people say that because that's what they all say. But think about it. We were really born creative. And so much of what Wake Up Your Magic is about, so much my work is about, is remembering who we are. So did you ever, Gayla, put your picture, or did your parents put your picture on the refrigerator?
Yep.
And didn't you think you were queen bee when you did that?
Yep.
And then weren't you doing math or taxes or something more analytical that you kind of got away from that part of your brain?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, when you make that commitment to yourself, when you want to expand, when you decide, I'm just going to take a few minutes, it gets into your bones. There's something so enlivening. So, how do you decide? How do you get people to do that? You encourage them. You inspire them. You show them results. Creativity is kind of like meditation. If you think of the results, lowering your blood pressure, less stress. So if they're really logical people, point that out.
So do you think that it takes some exploring to figure out what kind of creativity you can pull out that you really like?
Well, you know how I got back into it? And I think it's worth mentioning. And I know you many times ask people their favorite books or favorite author. And Julia Cameron wrote a classic book called The Artist Way. And it was getting back into and recovering really your spirituality, recovering your creativity. And she has all these kind of prompts and going back in life and seeing where you were. And from there, it uncovers, which is, of course, what Wake Up Your Magic does. It taps into. But we kind of, in that book, uncover parts of ourselves that we have forgotten. It's that remembering. I love her as an author. I now have her more advanced books. So for somebody like you, who obviously is bursting with creativity, I mean, anybody that can do websites, anybody that can do the crafting, it's just now you want another step. So you need that prompt. So I would suggest any of the books by Julia Cameron. She's a great creative guru.
Nice. Well, I've noticed in just talking with you briefly, it's bringing back a memory of like my husband's journey. Yeah, he's creative. He's a very creative guy. But in the last 3 years, he's really gotten into leathercraft and hand makes some fantastic leather hunting pouches that are reminiscent to the fur trade era. And I call him, he's my mountain man. But he looked up at me after working so hard on this particular bag. And this has been a couple of years ago, but he looked up at me and he said, I found something that I won't get tired of doing. And I just thought that was really meaningful.
Let's enlarge that a little. So he has found this passion. He has found such a deep part. And I'm sure he researches what it was like in that day. He envisions it in his music. He's doing the whole piece. So that becomes his passion. That becomes his aliveness, that awakeness. So it's fun for you to watch. But, I bet you have more than you give yourself credit to. I mean, just start to doodle, girl, because if you look at yourselves in the mighty crayon, those are not professional, but they bring me such joy to think that we have a symbol of creativity that's fun, in these dark, dark times. So congratulations to him. And I wait to see your magic.
Well, what do you think about if you find that passion? So many people think, well, then maybe I can make a career out of it. Sometimes that works, but then sometimes it becomes more of a job than the fun aspect. Can that happen, or am I looking too far into it?
So you're telling my story. So when I first began doing this, I had taken the Artist's Way workshop several times. I began to write poetry. I began to come up with exercises, nudges to wake up your magic. I had a studio. It was amazing. But then when everything went viral, went digital, then I started to have to be logical. And I just almost shut down the magic of what Wake Up Your Magic is. So that's such a good question. So I think, again, and I talk about awareness a lot, is always keeping in mind, what started it. But I feel like I've gone full circle. And I feel like I'm back since COVID, having that magic, being able to say to people, this is what it's about. This is finding, the ruby shoes or whatever it might be.
We think of business as kind of this stale environment. How can we bring creativity into a business?
So I feel like things are really evolving and that people are beginning to see that. One of the things I did during COVID was I watched a lot of videos of Success Magazine, and I love looking at leaders and seeing, what made them grow, what made them evolve, what made them stand out. And there's always a part of creativity there. And of course, for me, it's all about creating from the inside out. So somebody like you who's doing what you're doing, now you want that extra nudge of drawing, whatever. This is going to do nothing but make your business better because you're going to see clients in a whole different way. So I really feel, Gayla, that creativity is coming more into the workplace. But I also feel a lot of people like you are saying, I'm stifled. I can't stand it. I've got to move forward, which I think is terrific.
Do you have any type of exercise for business people to help draw out that creativity?
So I have an exercise I like to do with people. I call it the Wake Up Your Magic 5-step process. And I want to backslide a moment. Everything is about energy today. And if you look around, you feel what's going on and see where you're doing things from. Are you doing things from fear? I got to make money. Are you doing things from passion? So this 5-step process is really built on that concept. So I always say that step 1 is set the tone of feeling good. I always say the second step is really to look around. Look around what's easy, what's simple. I think we try to make things happen so much, and particularly in the business world, particularly if a sales manager comes say, you got to make money. But there's something, I keep going back to the word awareness, of getting in touch and being aware of what is happening. The third step is really to recognize your patterns and see how you're doing things. Are you doing it from the same old, or are you coming back to a new place? And then the best step creatively is number 4. And number 4 is really about then creating your vision, creating your script, creating your story, looking at beliefs and pretending, daydreaming, sketching, designing the essence of what you want. There's that clarity that comes when you put pen to paper. 90% is in our subconscious. But then when you start to write the essence, let's say it's a business plan, let's say it's a new product, let's say it's somebody spectacular like Gayla doing my social media. The essence, I'm not saying exactly what you want, but get in touch with that essence. And then the final step is to allow it to come. So much can happen if we step back and use that word allowing. Some people would take action. All right, I got the essence. I got to run out, make it happen. So there's different opinions on that. But I like to think, let it come, let it be. But it's the clarity, the sitting down. So for business people, and I work with a lot of business people, I was in the business world, is really, again, it all goes back to remembering, to unearthing what you want.
I love that. Going through those exercises, if you're working in an environment that seems stifling or very, lack of a better word, corporate, but not all corporates are like a stifling environment, we have it within ourselves to break away from that environment and tap into our creativity to feed a positive work experience.
Everything is perception and everything is beliefs. Maybe it's not the right place for you also. But there's so much, if you look at the wholeness, just look at the gray, business environment. What happens if you put color on your wall? What happens if your office, you have affirmations, flowers? There's so many little ways to change you. And then other people come to you and say, oh my God, I like where you're at. Then you get in meetings. Somehow you get better ideas. I mean, Bob Proctor, who's a big, big business coach, talks about creating things from the inside out. So I always feel that corporate, non-corporate, personal, non-personal.
In our line of work, we do a lot of writing, and I have clients that need to write or create, whether it's a blog post or a video or a podcast, because we publish those types of things. What do you say if someone may complain to you, man, I have writer's block? Do you have any advice on maybe getting that out? Or have you ever suffered writer's block?
Well, I'm not a writer, interesting. I write how my mind thinks. I write in blurbs, verse, thoughts. But I do one thing I call the Heinz 57 method, and it's great. And it's, you start to write and you number the page 1 to 57. And you start with the question, how can I unblock myself? And you just keep writing. And you probably get to 20, and you go, I can't do this. Keep writing. You will write the same thing over and over. But we have so much in our subconscious by putting pen to paper. So I would try that with your people and they're going to go, I can't write then get to what is that belief? Did they go to parochial school? Did they have to write? What is the block? And of course, you're so nice. You'll support them.
I find that I usually share with them and this is what I do. I just start writing, even
same thing.
Physically writing. I don't even know what to write. I don't know. Where is my mind going? And then it just meanders. And I was just curious on how you would tap into that creativity. Susan, you've talked about the Mighty Crayon book and Wake Up Your Magic. What else can you share about your work and what you do and how you help folks?
Oh, that's great. So first of all, we talked at the Mighty Crayon is my latest venture, and I love it as a nudge, a piece of inspiration. Your perfect example, wanting to doodle. And then this year I created gift bags. All my stuff is inspiration. So I've had so much fun with the gift bags, and I put the Mighty Crayon in it. I put a memo pad. I put my 30-day journal. So that has been fun creating those and creating them for grown-up parties or retreats or Zoom parties. So I'm very proud of those. I love doing mentoring. I have all sorts of programs to do mentoring. And of course, we just touched a little bit, but we all love our handheld, So I wanted to mention my mentoring programs. And my first one is, $45 for 45 minutes to see where you are vibrationally. So I have a combination of things. And then, of course, I just love, again, talking about creativity, getting across the power of it.
Wonderful. When you say find out where people are vibrationally, what does that mean?
So it means energetically. So let's say our world, and let's take 6 months ago, and you could almost feel the fear and feel the close downness. And so vibrationally, it's kind of energetically. Now you begin to see it opening up. So you feel that. So it could be a person that is hanging on to old stuff, living life the way they were taught. Old beliefs can just really narrow us down. So I would say energetically is what I mean, vibrationally. But this 45 minutes, once you understand where you are vibrationally, energetically, then you can see from there how you move forward.
Nice. Thank you. Is it on your website that you can gather your books, order your books and gift bags and mentoring program?
Everything's on my website. I have a recent video from Dr. Christiane Northrup displaying my gift bags, so that's sort of fun.
Nice.
And you'll see certainly pictures of me. The books are scanned in. The mentoring packages is very detailed, who it's good for. So my website, sometimes I think it's too long. I mean, you as a social media person would probably say enough.
No. And in fact, the more that you can tell your story and have things on your website, I like to tell folks, if you don't have things on your website for people because people tend to internet stalk. They discover us, right? And then they want to know more about you. And if you don't have things on your website, all of the stuff, because I like perusing your website, that's for sure. Oh, you do videos. Tell us about your videos and what you share.
Well, this is a great question that you don't even know, but I am going to do this summer, when you talk about videos, I'm going to do really what's it all about, explaining step by step, because I think people see this creative stuff and they're not always aware of the prompts, the studies, the nudges. So those are my upcoming videos. And I'm starting with a Mighty Crayon, and then we'll go to the inspiration gift bag. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice.
So, and then about a year ago, a friend of mine online said, you've got to do videos. And it's like, I can't do videos. There are all these young people out there, doing videos. But it's so much fun. I love it.
And you do a great job. I love your videos.
Thank you. But having done television and having done Toastmasters and having worked in advertising and marketing, it's fun to pull it together.
Well, advertising and marketing has a lot of creative juices flowing. And if you get too, well, you have to have an analytical part of you, but you've got to pull out some of that, think outside of the box. Oh, and speaking of that, do you have any advice for business owners that if they think that their team is maybe not thinking out of the box, they need some creativity type things, how do you encourage that thinking outside of the box as a business owner?
So as a business owner, of course, I think brainstorming, mind mapping, I know you probably do with your clients, mood boards, anything that you get them together, get them out of the overthinking mind. And of course, creativity brings out answers that the logical mind cannot. So get them into activities, but they've got to be having fun. They've got to have shifted their mindset. I mean, everything's about mindset, don't you think?
Oh, yes.
And unless we can shift that and take them to a whole new place. But if their mindset is a meeting, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and there's no deviation, how are they going to think outside the box? Years ago, 3M had a thing for their employees, and it was a suggestion box. And that's where 3M, those Post-it notes, came from. So it's, again, getting your group together, getting people communicating, getting people sharing. It's wonderful.
In a fun way. How can people contact you, Susan?
So there are several ways. I mean, I still love it when I hear from people by email. I still love to do, I will do, and I think this may be on my website, a 10 or 15 minute consultation. If they're thinking about one of my mentoring packages, I love the opportunity to meet with people, to talk with people. I mean, those are my strengths, my intuitive strengths, again, seeing the vibrations. And of course, they can email me at susguild@mac.com. They can go to my Facebook page. I have Susan Guild. I also have Wake Up Your Magic. Instagram, which I'm just learning to use, and look at your stuff all the time.
Well, I think you'll have fun on Instagram. It's kind of, that's why I like it.
Yeah.
That's the one social media that I actually enjoy going into just on a fun basis, because that's where I think the creativity is.
Well, and I've had fun doing the metaphors. For instance, I just posted, fireworks on my backyard that were on a lake in the back of me. And think about what lights you up and lighting up the sky and going higher. I mean, I'm having a ball with it. Yes.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, I have truly enjoyed this conversation with you, Susan. Thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you, Gail. You're so nice to have me.
Often, we fail to express our appreciation to those around us, including those who may not be we're not super close with, but who have nonetheless have had a profound impact on our lives. I encourage you to express the gratitude you feel for those people around you that have made an impact in your life. Little and gentle gestures are great. Even a simple thank you helps frame things that we aren't taking those special people and those special moments for granted. Those little gestures, the little things matter, and they add up. My only regret is that maybe I didn't express my gratitude enough to both Dan and Susan while they were still with us. But I do believe that their spirit and legacy are still with us, and we can still learn from them, appreciate them, and be positively impacted by their lessons. Words aren't big enough to truly verbalize my appreciation for each of them. But I guess this sums it up. Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Dan. And to you, thank you for listening. I truly appreciate you. And until next week, remember, live full, work fun.